Hello, and welcome to this episode of Lights Out. I'm your host, Sylvia Shults. A few episodes ago, we stopped in to say hello to Greg and Dana Newkirk of the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult, and to see what new paranormal goodies they had to share with us. Dana and Greg had some old favorites along, too. Billy and Ruby were there, of course, and so was the haunted mirror. Let's take another look into this haunted item as we go Lights Out. The first time I met Greg and Dana, they graciously allowed me to experience this haunted object for myself. No, this wasn't your hostess with the mostest ghosties getting any kind of star treatment. Dana and Greg believe passionately that everyone should have the opportunity to interact with these fascinatingly haunted objects. There are a few exceptions, things that are actually dangerous and will have supernatural repercussions for anyone who fiddles with them. But in general, Greg and Dana encourage visitors to the museum to pick up these haunted items, look at them, hold them, and use them. One of these objects is the dark mirror. I described my experience with this in Lights Out number 30, Haunted Objects Part 2. If you recall, I gazed into the mirror for quite some time, about 20 minutes, and I saw absolutely nothing but my own reflection staring back at me. When I encountered the dark mirror a couple of years later, my experience was somewhat different. This time, the dark mirror seemed to draw me in. I tried really hard not to hog it, but I kept sneaking back to the museum booth in the hopes that I could look into the mirror just one more time. And other people were using the mirror, and they were seeing things, disturbing things. I won't name names due to privacy issues, and because I heard this anecdote secondhand, but a friend of mine said that a mutual friend of ours had looked in the mirror and had seen something absolutely appalling. This friend of ours had been the victim of a school shooting, and they had relived the attack during their mirror session. I've known him since 3rd grade, my friend said, and I have never seen a look on his face like that. Another friend of mine sat down next to me just as I was about to look into the mirror for the 3rd or 4th time. I gave up my seat to her, and she gazed into the mirror. After just a few minutes, she reared back, pushing away from the table with a wide-eyed look of fear and disgust on her face. I saw my own face, but it was hideous, all gross and old, practically rotting, she panted. That's when I told her that about half an hour before, the mirror had shown me much the same thing. At one point I had seen my own face, but my face as it would look as if I were in my late 90s. But I kept going back to the mirror. I was reminded unpleasantly of what Dumbledore said about the magic mirror in the first Harry Potter book. Don't trust anything if you can't see where it keeps its brain. But soon, the mirror and I seemed to reach an agreement of sorts. Now, this is just a theory, but here goes. I think that the dark mirror is haunted because it somehow possesses some sort of crude intelligence. Yes, I saw something unsettling in the mirror, but I kept going back to it. And when the mirror realized I wasn't going to be scared off that easily, well, that's when things really started to get interesting. The next time I looked into the dark mirror, I did not see my face age 50 years in a second. Instead, I watched myself blink when I knew my eyes were open. I watched my gaze cut over to the right when I knew I was looking straight ahead. And still I kept my gaze directly on the dark mirror, I wasn't about to give up. Then the mirror went completely black. My face faded away almost entirely. I held my breath. What was the mirror planning to show me? Unfortunately, my surroundings weren't the most optimal conditions for mirror gazing or scrying. I saw nothing but blackness before someone walked past the table where I was sitting, or a burst of noise interrupted my concentration. I took the mirror back to Dana. She said that at some events they have enough room to set up an enclosed booth with black curtains to minimize distractions. This is sometimes called a psychomantium. A quiet, dark place like that is just perfect for really going deeply into the relaxed state needed for an effective scrying session. Someday I hope to run into the dark mirror again. And next time, maybe I'll see what's beyond the darkness. Remember, for the best in supernatural and paranormal podcasts, please visit Podcast Central on Facebook. In the next episode, I'll be sharing a very special experience I had with a spirit at the Pollock Hospital in Bartonville. With the help of Diane Lockhart, a gifted medium, I was able to talk with the ghost of a young man who passed away before my grandparents were born. Please join me next time as we go lights out.
Double, double, toilet trouble, fire bag and cauldron bubble, fill it up with any snake, in the cauldron boil a steak. I've meat and terror.